Happy Saturday, friends. You get Saturday Stephanie here. It's fun being up and kind of thinking through some things and then hopping on to share with you. And it's been a hot minute since I have been live in this group, and I miss doing that. A couple of weeks ago, I introduced a concept called the urge jar and talked a little bit about what that would be for you, how that could help you with your journey, what that meant with regards to emotional eating. So let's take a deeper dive in that. And my commitment to you is to kind of give you some building blocks on the urge jar, because I've been using this concept in tandem with the 2B mindset, and it's been brilliant. It's been so liberating. Good morning, Trisha. So all you need for an urge jar is just any type of jar. You could go to Hobby Lobby. I actually got this one from my life coaching school, but some glass beads to go in your jar and a jar. That's it. It could be super inexpensive. Go to Dollar Tree, right? Like you can make this a really easy tool. But the purpose of this is that you want it to be visual. You want it to be somewhere. I like to keep mine in my kitchen because that's where I'm usually making decisions that might not serve me. So that's a great place to keep it there. But I want you to think about the urge jar as your emotional jar. This is where, when we're stuck, when we're stressed, when we're upset, when we're angry, it could be when we're super excited about something, where perhaps we're turning towards food to solve that problem. And we've talked about a lot in this group, and we've talked about it. Alana talks about it in the videos about your emotions are a good thing. They are there for a reason. They are not meant to be fought against. Hey, Cheryl, good morning. I guess it's evening for you, probably. We want to use a tool to help us learn to process emotions in a healthy way that doesn't take us away from our goals. So the two can work together. So I want you to think about feeling emotions can be very difficult. And I'm going to challenge you right now to say, let it be difficult. So often in life, we want things to be a quick fix. We want weight loss to be a really easy, smooth, quick thing that's easily sustainable and it's comfortable the whole time, right? But nothing about it is comfortable. So we want to let it be difficult, because when we learn to sit with that, I call it a vibration, kind of that angst, that in between, you're going to make so much progress in your journey. We've talked in the past about your primal brain. I always say, like, your animal brain, that part of your brain is like a toddler, okay? Think about if you have kids, or if you've ever been to a grocery store, you have probably been in line at the checkout when some little kid is like, I want the Snickers bar. I want the Snickers bar. And the mom's like, nope, you can't have the Snickers bar. Not right now, maybe later. And the kid just ratchets up, right? Like starts screaming, is throwing a tantrum. And finally the mom is like, have the freaking Snickers bar. Be quiet, right? That is our toddler animal brain. So I'll give you an example. That toddler brain is oftentimes when we're in the middle of stress and, good gracious, y'all, buying a house, selling a house, moving across country and having a kid that's sick, there has been a lot of stress. So oftentimes my toddler brain is like, oh, you need that chocolate right now. That's going to help you. A glass of wine will help you. That bag of Doritos is going to help you. That's going to make you feel better. That toddler brain is going to throw a fit, right? If we think about our brain and the way that we are wired, it wants you to be comfortable. It wants you to be satiated. It wants that stuff from you. So that toddler brain, that animal brain, is going to say, I want the Snickers bar now. And really, we have to use our prefrontal cortex, our planning, thinking brain, to have a conversation with the toddler brain and be like, I hear you. I see that you're throwing a fit, but we're not going to do that right now. We're going to sit with that. And that's what this urge jar is going to give you the capacity to do. All right. Here's ultimately what I want for you. This is so powerful. If there is no emotion that you are unavailable to feel, you'll no longer be captive to food, and you'll no longer be captive to that desire to constantly overeat. Let that sink in. That is a concept that if you are willing to sit with for a hot minute, you're going to make so much progress in this journey. Because some of you are stuck right now, and some of you may have just started and you're reverting back to old diet mentality. Well, part of that hump is the emotional hump, right? These beads, what's crazy about this is when you, and I'm going to get into the concept in a minute, but when you start to not put the food in your mouth, which is basically fleeing from your emotions, right? We're not feeling them, we're fleeing from them, we're eating them. Every bead that you put into your jar by allowing an emotion that you're not responding to, when this jar is full, this is about 100 beads, that's equivalent to about 20 pounds. This is what we've seen, okay? I'm not saying it will be for you, it may not be for me, but I can tell you that when you're not eating all of this is extra calories, extra everything, you're gonna stay on track to your goals, and it's gonna be a completely different experience. All right, so we wanna get to where there is no emotion we're afraid to feel. The process of allowing an emotion. What's the difference between an urge and emotion? Nothing. It's an urgent emotion. It's that need to fulfill that desire right now, immediately. Think toddler brain, all right? So many of us, and I have been there too, I actually made a post about this today, kind of in a roundabout way, but a lot of times we think if we're unable to stay on plan, right? Like if we've said we're going to do 2B mindset and we're going to do water first and veggies most, and we're going to stick to the basic concepts of plate it, and we don't do that well, or we get into that emotional spin, or we grab something that wasn't part of the plan, wasn't veggies most, we think we are morally bankrupt. We think we can't do it. I just don't have the willpower. I'm just not able, right? Give me a thumbs up if you've ever felt that. That is not true, right? Like this is the human experience. We've talked about in the past too, like the human experience, if you think of a pie, right? Half of it is wonderful emotions, half of it is negative emotions. We get to the negative emotion part and we're like, bah, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to grab a snack. I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to numb out with Netflix. I'm going to do those things. What we want to do is to just keep the pie in front of us. It's funny that I'm using a food analogy, but keep that in front of us, because when we can feel both sides and we just know that both sides are supposed to be there as part of the human experience, this all becomes so much easier, right? It doesn't have the power, all right? So we've talked about the primal brain, that toddler brain that wants all the things. We've talked about your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of our brain, the part of our brain that separates us from your cats and dogs and things running around. We get to make decisions and plan. Hey, Marcy, good morning. So when you're dealing with emotions, we've talked about in the past, and we'll go through this again at some point, but CTFAR, if that rings a bell with you, circumstance, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. If you're not getting the results that you want from this program, there's probably a kink in the chain, and this is why we're here. Here's what you need to know about an urge. An urge is powerless. It has no power without your brain's consent. So until you take hold of that urge and you're like, yes, I am going to answer this urge. I'm going to answer this urge for being stressed out and not knowing what to do. I'm going to answer it with food. You've given all the power to your toddler brain. Y'all, come on. We don't need to do that. We can have another solution. Here's what also doesn't work, right? Giving into our toddler brain every time doesn't work, because the scale will show it, your clothing will show it, your feeling about yourself will show it, and most importantly, there is some integrity with yourself, like every morning or every week when you're like, this week I'm going to do better, and then you get back into that emotional pull and you fall off the wagon. That really doesn't exist, right? Like that emotional pull, we can build integrity with ourselves. We can learn to trust ourselves. We can learn to allow those emotions and sit with them for a minute. Running away from an urge, running away, and what I mean by that is when we say, I'm going to white knuckle it, right? I'm not going to have the chocolate, or I'm just not going to have it in the house. I'm not going to do those things, right? Like I used to do that too. Like I will resist. I will be good, right? I want you to think of it this way. Have y'all ever had a beach ball, or beach ball is probably a great example, a beach ball in the water, right? You push the beach ball under the water and you can hold it there for a little bit, right? And it'll stay under the water for a little bit, but as soon as you let go for a fraction of a second, poof, that beach ball goes flying out of the water with a vengeance. Think of your emotions and your urges that way. We can resist them. How's that working for you, right? Like if you're just resisting the stress, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, it comes back like the beach ball and you want it even more. We're actually, here's what's crazy, we're creating more desire when we try to resist in that manner. So what we want to do is to allow. We want it to just be present. We want to look at that toddler brain, that animal brain, and be like, I see what you're doing. I see. I know you're throwing a tantrum. It's okay. Here's how the urge jar comes into play. When we have an urge, okay, so let's make it that, gosh, yesterday was super stressful for me. We are selling our house. The appraisal came in lower than our sales price. It's just a mess, y'all. And all I wanted to do was like literally eat everything in the pantry, right? But what I had to do was to listen to my toddler brain. And I had to say, I see you, toddler brain. I know you want to eat all the things. We're not going to do that right now. We're going to go for a walk right now. And what you do is you feel that vibration, okay? You feel the stress, you feel the panic, you feel the anger, you feel the whatever. You don't have to do anything about it. And then after 10 minutes, you can set a timer, or you can just come back and do this when that urge is gone and you have not solved your urge, you have not solved your emotion by grabbing the bag of chips, by grabbing the glass of wine, by binging out on whatever your numbing technique. And in this group, we're talking about food. So generally it's going to be the food part, the bowl of ice cream, the whatever you've done in the past. This bead goes in the jar. That's one urge that was unsolved by food. That was one urge that I just let resonate in my body, okay? And the goal is to keep doing that. You may have days where you're putting in 5 beads, 10 beads, whatever. You want to go through, and like I said, this is a bag of 100. You want to keep building on these urges until your jar is full, okay? It's going to be hard. It is going to be painful. It is going to be, you're going to be like, Stephanie, what have you done to me? I don't like you anymore. But on the other side of this, you're going to learn that you can do hard things. You're going to learn that those urges and emotions don't have a hold on you. You're going to learn that you can press through it. And here's another, if you think about it this way, when it comes to those urges, have you ever been in a hotel? You've been on vacation maybe, and the fire alarm goes off, right? Like the fire alarm goes off. In that moment, you're not trying to figure out, why is the fire alarm going off? Is there actually a fire? Right? Like you're not doing any of that. It's not pleasant to hear the fire alarm, but you kind of go through the motion. You probably in your heart know there's not actually a fire in the hotel. Some kid probably pulled it, right? You're allowing that. Yes, as Elisa says, process the pain. Absolutely. This is so, amen, girl. You're going to let that alarm go off. You're going to so when you're in the middle of that urge, that emotion, I like to think of it like a canoe. Yeah, y'all have heard me talk about that before. Like I put my stress in the canoe and I watch the canoe float by. The canoe has no control over me. I don't have to respond to the canoe. I don't have to answer the canoe with, I keep saying Doritos. I don't even like Doritos, but I'm going to keep saying that. I don't have to answer it with Doritos. I don't have to solve it with that. That can go by. The alarm at the hotel can go off. The fire drill could be, people are panicking. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm just knowing that the fire alarm is going to stop eventually. The bell will quit ringing. And when that happens, 10 minutes later, I get a bead in the jar, okay? That is the concept of this whole process of understanding our urges, letting them not control us. And here's the thing, you're going to say, well, what happens when I do give in to an urge? That's going to happen. And please don't shame yourself, but I want you to write it down. The other part of this, I'll get to in just a second, is being very intentional about writing down what we're doing. So the past, let's recap real quick. Our past, I'm going to speak for me. My past was I got an urge. Let's say I got stressed, I got anxious, I got fearful over something, I was bored, okay? Any of those emotions created an urge, and my toddler brain is like, right now, I need it right now, have to have it right now, okay? And what I would do to that is I would eat the thing, whatever the thing was. That was the past. I would always respond to that urge with a solution, and the solution was always food or alcohol or whatever, okay? That's the past. The new with the urge jar, this is what we're building as a habit of the urge comes and we don't answer it. It's so hard. The urge comes and we sit with it. We sit with that vibration. We don't have to figure it out. I don't have to delve into why I'm so stressed. I can, but I don't have to do that. I can just sit with it for 10 minutes and then I can process it through that. And by the time this is full, this is all these unsolved, urgent toddler brain desires that are now in the jar and not in my belly. And that's a beautiful thing, because what you're saying ultimately is, I have this plan, I have the To Be Mindset plan that I want to follow, and I believe in it, and it's a good thing, it makes me feel good, but the emotional part is derailing me. I'm going to follow this plan, and the more that I don't let the emotions take me off track, I put them in their rightful place, like a toddler, right? Like, you're the adult, you're not the toddler. When those emotions go in the jar and they resolve unanswered, they just are, right? They're part of that 50% positive, 50% negative experience of life, and they're just there. You're going to see the scale move. You're going to see your clothes fit differently. You're going to see this integrity with yourself because you're saying you're going to do something and you do it. It is beautiful. So this week, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into what this means. We'll talk more about the primal brain. We'll talk more about the prefrontal cortex. We'll talk more about urges. We'll talk more about that emotional component. The other part that is important here is that while you're doing this, I'm going to give you, so I feel like I've amped up. This is like To Be Mindset on steroids, but it's okay because it's a good thing. We've got our trackers. We've got our trackers, and we've been tracking some of our emotions in our trackers. We've been writing down our food in our tracker. What I want you to do is to elevate that process just a little bit, and hear me out on this. So generally on the weekend or whenever you've been doing your food planning, you're thinking ahead. You're using that prefrontal cortex to think ahead and plan, right? I want you to do something a little different this week. I don't have my tracker. It's in the kitchen. But let's just say this is your tracker. You've got your plan, right? Like, you know what you're going to do for the week. So I want you 24 hours in advance to write down what you're going to eat. I know you've got your food plan, but if you're anything like me, who is a little bit, I love spontaneity, I'm very willy-nilly sometimes. I know what I've planned for the week, but maybe it's Tuesday and I'm like, I don't feel like a hamburger today. I'm going to have the chicken instead. I want you to, for at least a week, to follow this. This is another, like, it will blow your mind. Integrity is built when we do what we say we're going to do to the T, okay? So 24 hours in advance. So today is Saturday. I'm going to write this down for Sunday. If this was my tracker, I'm going to say I'm going to have my shake in the morning for breakfast, and here's what's going to go in it. It's going to be vanilla Shakeology. It's going to be 1 tablespoon of PB2. It's going to be 1/4 of a cup of cauliflower. It's going to be the maple extract that I love. Okay, so To Be Mindset, right? Like, it's within that guidelines. I'm still staying within Plate It. I'm still staying within my protocol, but I'm going to write down what I have. So tomorrow morning when I get up and I'm like, I don't feel like a shake, I'm going to eat only and exactly what I wrote down as my plan. I'm going to say for lunch what I'm going to have for lunch tomorrow. And I know some of you were like, well, what if we go out to lunch with friends? Maybe what you do is you write down, I'm going to have a salad with grilled protein. Be as specific as possible. So when you say I'm going to have a salad with grilled chicken and you go out to lunch with friends, order the salad with grilled chicken. Don't order the salad with grilled salmon, right? Like, we start negotiating. This is where you are building a chain of integrity with yourself. I am saying, good, I'm going to do something, and then I do it. And each day that this unfolds, friends, I'm telling you, you will be on your plan in a heightened new way. This is the other difference. How many of you, especially like you get to the weekend and then you're kind of way off, like you do great during the week and then the weekend you just like blow it out, right? Oh, I love that you read about integrity this morning. This is perfect and timely. But we do great. We stay on our plan kind of because there's a rhythm, a little bit more of a rhythm during the week. And then the weekend comes and we're like, woo, at the lake or like eating all the things. I've done it too. And oftentimes it's that extra stuff that we've not planned for, or the snacking that just happens to go around because you're bored again, emotions, that kind of stuff that adds up and takes us off course. So what if, hear me out, what if 24 hours in advance you're planning? So maybe you're going to go grill out at the lake with friends. So you're going to write down, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not saying be super restrictive. I'm not saying go to the lake and grill out with friends and have broccoli and chicken. No, that's a diet. I'm saying you're going to have a burger with a bun or maybe a lettuce wrap, and you're going to have, let's say you love chips and you're going to allow that. That's going to be part of your protocol for tomorrow. You're going to put that in there, but it's going to be one handful of chips because you said one handful of chips. It's not going to be half the bag or the bag of chips and the ice cream sundae and the. Does that make sense? So you're going to be very intentional about what you're eating 24 hours in advance. And here's what's crazy. You're going to get to that event, right? You're going to get to the grill out at the lake, and somebody's going to have strawberry shortcake. And you're like, strawberry shortcake is my very favorite thing. I am going to allow myself to have that. I want you to stay in integrity, okay? So there's two ways to answer that. You're not going to have it tomorrow night. You're going to say, hey, I've already eaten everything on my food plan. I'm totally full and satisfied. Can I take a slice of that home? I'm going to have it tomorrow. Or you're going to find maybe it's your neighbor. You're going to be like, I'm coming over tomorrow night for a slice of that cake. It looks delicious. I can't wait to try it. You're just not going to have it in the moment. The more we can learn to not solve our emotions in the moment, because what that is, when you've made a plan and you've said, and your brain is like, I want the best for you. Your prefrontal cortex is like, I want you to do well in this. I want you to feel great in your skin. I want you to have all the energy. I want you to feel everything that you've been feeling when you're on the plan, right? I want you to feel all that. And your toddler brain is like, I want strawberry shortcake. I want it now. Stick with your planning brain. It wants the best for you. It's not that you can't have the strawberry shortcake, right? Like, you can have that. We've already talked about that. It's about being in that mindset and not answering every little thing in the moment. And I've been thinking about this concept as I'm about to go cross country, right? Like, I'm about to take this amazing trip from Atlanta to California. I'm going with my oldest child. We're going to be going to all these different cities and all the food, right? Like, all the food, all the options. I don't have to answer every single desire with a food from those towns. Our little toddler brain is like, but you're never going to be back in Houston. You're never going to be back in Dallas. You're never going to be back in Albuquerque. You've got to try the fill in the blank. Well, if I want to do that, if there is some legendary food, the first place we're going is New Orleans. You want to know what's going to be on my 24-hour in advance protocol? Some beignets. And I'm going to have no guilt about it. It's going to be there. I'm going to say I'm going to eat 2 beignets. I'm going to have a great cup of coffee at Cafe Du Monde, and it's going to be on my plan, and I'm going to keep that integrity with myself. And when we see some street vendor that's selling something else, I don't have to answer that. I don't have to. I'm smarter than that. I'm bigger than that. I'm more planned than that. And the prefrontal cortex that's trying to keep me sane, healthy, energized, all the things, is in charge. But it's only in charge when you let it be in charge. So you got to plan that 24 hours in advance. Okay, I've talked long enough. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't really want to keep you that long. Grab a glass jar. If you haven't watched this video, start at the beginning. Grab a glass jar. Grab some beads. You don't have to use glass beads. You could do whatever. You could use beans. You could use pennies, whatever. But it needs to be something tangible that as you're not responding to an urge, you're having that conversation with your toddler brain. You're saying, and this is going to make sense if you start at the beginning, every unanswered urge, after 10 minutes, you get a bead in the jar. Filling up this jar with unanswered urges is going to translate into tremendous weight loss. And really what I mean by that is tremendous freedom. You are going to be back in your skin. You're going to be back in your power zone, right? Like, you're in charge of this. Your toddler brain, your emotions, your desires, all that stuff is not in charge. It is going to stir up crap for you this week. I'm telling you, be ready. It's coming for you. The crap is going to come, and you're going to probably curse me, and that's okay. But sitting with those emotions and learning to sit with them, as uncomfortable or as painful as it is. And there were a couple of times yesterday where I didn't want to sit with them. I was like, I'm taking the dog for a walk, because it just was too much, and I wanted to get outside that vibration. I wanted to get out of that. So I removed myself from the situation and we went for a walk. I did something productive, but ultimately got beads in the jar. Okay, so we want to start filling those up, not answering every emotion, and then we want to start planning our food protocol. Even if you've done your meal plan for the week, I want you to 24 hours in advance say what you're going to have. This includes, I also love this part of it. Your food plan can include, if you're a drinker, I don't know if you are or not. I love to have some cocktails on the weekend. Plan 24 hours in advance what cocktails and how many. You could say, I'm going to have 4 beers on your food plan, okay? And then there is no fifth. There is no fifth. You could say, I'm going to have 1 martini on your food plan. There is not 2 martinis, right? You eat only and exactly what you have written down 24 hours in advance. And if that urge for that second martini comes, put some beads in your pocket when you go out on your date night or whatever you're doing. You're going to sit with that urge. You don't have to answer it. You can say tomorrow night, 24 hours in advance, I'm going to have a martini tomorrow night. So that could go on your following day food plan. All right. I hope this makes sense. This is still 2B mindset because y'all, 2B mindset is where it is. It is the most effective nutrition plan. It is the most food freedom plan. It's learning your body, what works well with your body, but it's that mindset component that we've really got to work into the whole system. I want freedom for all of you. So I hope this has been beneficial. Comment below with any questions that you have about this. Have you started using an urge jar? Are you on board with this? Do you want to take the journey with us next week? We're going to be talking more about this, but let's elevate. I feel like it's a little bit like summer school. Like this is a good time to play with things and kind of reorchestrate. So let's dig in. Love you guys.